Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. NZPocketGuide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, the 28th of May, 2023, and this is the NZ Travel Show. It's 8 a.m. in New Zealand right here, by the way. It is very early in the morning. I hope that everybody is doing absolutely fabulous. I hope that you all had a fantastic week. We actually had some clement weather for a change in New Zealand in May. That is pretty rare. Usually it's rain, rain, and more rain. But don't worry, worry not. Today the rain is coming back, so here you go. The good days in enjoying your gardens are over. It is no more. All right, who's here already?
Who's here? We have Adil here saying Kia ora, Robin, Laura, and all the viewers. Kia ora, Adil.
How are you doing, Adil?
We have Cherie saying, good morning, guys. I hope you guys are warm today. It's currently 3 degrees at the moment here. 3 degrees? Oh my God, that's pretty chilly.
Yeah, I don't think it's even that cold here in New Zealand, Cherie.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong country right now.
Yeah.
Leave Australia, come to New Zealand.
Get to New Zealand. And we also have Lawrence here saying Kia ora, Laura, Robin, and everyone here.
Awesome.
Kia ora,
How is it going for you in Boston, Lawrence? And Kira Loren is here saying happy Saturday afternoon. 35 days until she gets on that plane to New Zealand, which is really cool.
Nice.
And speaking of that, before we do anything today, I would like to welcome David into New Zealand. So David is one of our amazing Patreon supporter, and he arrived in New Zealand this week. That's right.
Woo.
He made it to New Zealand. So that's pretty epic. He's been planning his trip since many
dawn
moons.
of time.
Yeah. Yes. Clay is here. That's been a long time.
Hi.
Yes. He stopped showing up every single week since he stopped drinking whiskey every single week. So I feel like we need to find a way to help him drink whiskey right here.
I guess now that, we're going into winter, maybe Clay can spare some more time for us. There's, less favourable weather to go out exploring.
Yeah. And Lauren says we have a very nice 27 degrees Celsius in Boston.
Very jealous.
Very jealous indeed.
Oh, I'd like to be wearing a pair of shorts right now.
But yeah, all of you guys on Patreon, just stick around because we will be talking about our upcoming travel plans during our Patreon shows. So yeah, stick around. In an hour, we'll do all that all together in our private secret Patreon session. Speaking is hard. Speaking is too hard. I don't want to speak no more. Sherry, what's she saying?
She says it's only 6 a.m. It's been pretty cold in the mornings here. True, yeah, I guess that makes a little bit more sense. It was probably almost that cold here at that time as well. And Clay says both reasons are correct.
We'll find a way we'll find another drinking game for you early mornings. That's healthy, right? That's okay to say.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But we almost gave a heart attack to Clay actually last week. I think I posted a couple of photos and videos from our trip on the South Islands, and we went to a cafe that had savory pies, like those tradie pies, for 14 damn New Zealand dollars each. I mean, are you kidding me?
I know.
That was insanely expensive. All of the food was really good there. We did have some. We didn't have a pie. We actually had like phyllo pastries and coffees and everything. It was damn good, but 14 damn dollars. Wow, that was quite crazy.
What world are they living in?
I know. I think that it is insane. Like inflation, schminflation right here. That's way above. Well, that's way above anything reasonable.
I know. I mean, it's like the cost of a pie in New Zealand is like the metrics for inflation.
Yeah.
It's like the Big Mac that they use everywhere. The price of a Big Mac
should be between $3.50 and $7 if you like go for something super schmancy fancy.
Yeah.
That should be what the price should be, right? If it says $14, you're being taken advantage of.
Yes. Lawrence says, if we're counting down, 4 days left till my trip home, a few days in Scotland. Very excited to take a break visiting family and friends. Very nice.
I don't know if you're trading up or down with your weather between 27 degrees Celsius in Boston and what you're going to have in Scotland.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be quite that warm, but it's still like going into summer there, so it might still be quite nice.
Responding to my pie rant, Clay says, must be tough to be a tradie over there. Yeah.
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 Especially in Murchison, that was, guys.
Yeah, Murchison.
Beware, Murchison is expensive to get pies.
Michael Stewart is back here.
Stewart.
It's been a long time. Saying hello. How are you doing, Michael? Glad to have you on board. Sherry says, I hope the pies are damn good for that price. I'm tempted to try them when I'm there. Well, give it a shot. As I said, we tried other items on their cabinet, and that was pretty good. So if you do give it a shot, make sure you film it, you take photo of it, you make the most out of that $14, and you share it with us on our Patreon group, yeah?
Yeah.
What is Kiwi Lauren saying?
Kiwi Lauren says that we had a rainy week, but it's decent here today. 19 degrees at the moment.
Nice.
No snow or frozen eyelashes to be seen. Much nicer than -40. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it can get pretty insane where you are.
And Lawrence is asking, that's insane for a pie. Are there gold leaves on them? Yeah, I see that sometimes like on social media and everything, some like restaurants doing like, gold plated like steak and those kind of things. Like, why would you want to eat that? It's like, what the hell? It makes no sense. I mean,
Different priorities in life, I guess.
Some people have way too much money to be reasonable.
Yes.
Adil
says, tell us about the other websites besides New Zealand Pocket Guide that you both own and manage. Oh, well,
Adil is our marketing manager right here.
Okay, yeah. Well,
all right, so we also run FijiPocketGuide.com, which is the largest travel guide in Fiji. We run Cook Islands PocketGuide.com, which is the largest travel guide in the Cook Islands if you're planning an escape to beautiful Rarotonga. We also own NuePocketGuide.com if you are planning an escape from New Zealand and want to see a country which is not really a country but still is a country. It's an associated state with New Zealand. You can still use the New Zealand dollar there like you can do in Cook Islands. We also run TongaPocketGuide.com if you want to go swim with whales and help this amazing country recover from this devastating volcanic eruption they had during COVID times. And finally, we recently launched Samoa Pocket Guide. It is our newest baby. It's about like a month old, I'd say, right now. And yeah, it is the largest travel guide for Samoa. Yeah. So here you go, Adil. Sherry says, I want to visit Fiji in the next couple of years. Well, just ask. We've got you back. And we'll talk about Fiji actually in about an hour, Sherry. So yeah, fun times.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, we talk about it in the Patreon show. Okay, so every week we love to have a theme. So let's go over that today. All right, so are you looking for your next new favorite city? Are you looking for something to escape from the various amazing landscape and stunning natural wonders that New Zealand has to offer? Well, New Zealand also have some pretty cool cities too. We have some fantastic coastal cities, some cities dotted with volcanoes, and we even have a city that has a geothermal park as its main central city park. So knowing which are the best and biggest cities of New Zealand is a good way to understand a little bit of the geography of the country. So we thought that today we'd go over the 13, or probably we're just going to stop around 10 best cities that New Zealand has to offer. And we'll go in descending order from the biggest in terms of population to the smallest, but it's not going to be the smallest, it's going to be the smallest of our top 10.
Less big.
Yes, to the least biggest.
Yeah.
All right, so no, I missed nothing in there. So in the meantime, while you guys continue with all your comments and everything, we'll get started. So the first city to mention when it comes down to the biggest city in New Zealand is obviously the most obvious of obviousest ones, and that's Auckland. With 1.7 million inhabitants, this is by far the largest city of New Zealand. It is also the biggest port of entry of New Zealand, with the Auckland Airport located in the Manukau suburb of Auckland. And this is basically the most visited city in the country, as pretty much every tourist arrives there. There is a huge choice of national park there, with bushland kind of national park.
Regional parks.
Yeah, regional park and beachland kind of regional parks as well. But there is also some amazing islands getaway to be had in the Hauraki Gulf, which is the big gulf that is what you see when you are facing and looking at the harbour. So yeah, Auckland has all the convenience of being the biggest city of New Zealand, but it also has some epic things to do. Laura, what are your favorite things to do in Auckland?
Okay, so speaking of the Hauraki Gulf, one of the best islands to visit, I think if you're a first-time visitor, is to go to Rangitoto Island. It's only about a 30-minute ferry trip to get there, but once you get there, it has an amazing forest, a cool hike up to a crater of an extinct or dormant volcano. It's one of the youngest volcanoes in Auckland, and it's just really awesome to explore, has lava caves, all that good stuff. Another really cool place in Auckland is the Auckland Domain, which is a very large park really close to the city centre. You can access it pretty much a short walk from the city centre. And it's full of different things to see. There's the Auckland Museum there. There's also winter gardens, so like a massive greenhouse with amazing plants in there. There's also some bushwalks in the centre of the city, which is pretty cool as well. So yeah, checking out the Auckland Domain is definitely one of the top things to do. And then if you're looking for more city vibes, just visiting the different streets like Queen Street, High Street, checking out all their different cafes, shops, all that sort of thing. I mean, it's a city. Often in New Zealand, its main attractions aren't really the cities, aren't really shopping, aren't really doing all that sort of, going to maybe the theatre, that sort of thing. So having the time to go and do that in Auckland, well, you're in the biggest city to go and do all that good stuff. So why not do it in Auckland?
All right, and because it's a city, let's talk coffee and food. My favorite coffee is on High Street. That's a small cafe called The Shelf. And my favorite dessert is at Oko, which is right in the city centre, which makes amazing chocolatey desserts. Okay, let's go back to the live chat. What's Kiwi Lauren asking?
Kiwi Lauren says, I have an odd question. Have you visited the public bathroom in Cromwell that features rather entertaining urinals?
I saw a video on that.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen them. She says she has a video on that. One of them is a saxophone. Interesting. We've seen some pretty quirky public bathrooms around New Zealand for sure, but we have to say we haven't seen the Cromwell one. That's interesting.
Sherry also has seen the video, so yeah, she says it's a little strange. I mean, I guess the saxophone one is only for men's, right? I mean,
she says urinals, so I'm guessing it's only in the men's bathroom.
But yeah, so there is a few bathrooms and that are kind of fun. Actually, we actually have filmed one of them in
the Hundertwasser toilet.
Yes, in the Hundertwasser toilet
in Kawakawa in the Bay of Islands.
Northland up there, and so we filmed some of them, which are kind of like funny. But yeah, it's a great way for a small town in New Zealand. You know, all of them have public bathroom for tourists to still make an impression on tourists, because a lot of people just literally stop at the toilet, at the public toilets, right? So a great way to kind of make that kind of a memorable experience. May as well, kind of make it a fun experience.
Yeah.
If you go to the town of Taupo, there is a big loo right in the city center, the difference there is that you have to pay $2 to use them. So there you go.
There's also
there are some different ones.
the super loo where you have to pay.
Super loo, that's the thing. Yeah.
There's also in Otahanga, which is the Kiwiana capital of New Zealand. They have a nice Kiwiana themed bathroom.
That's a fun one. That's a New Zealand experience while you are reliving yourself.
Yes.
So yeah. Taking in what you're reliving.
I mean, it's getting to the point now where we could easily do like at least a top 5 of funky public bathrooms in New Zealand.
Especially if we include like bars or stuff, which some of them have like some funny ones, like at the museum in...
I was going to say, Transport World in Invercargill has some really fun bathrooms. And so we have some really fun photos of those bathrooms.
Oh my God.
Anyway...
Sherry says, speaking of public toilets, are they easy to find in most places? Yeah, genuinely, they're well marked. They actually are. Some places even have actual road signs where it will send you to the public bathroom. And actually, when I say some places, most places.
Yeah.
Like, even in places like Taihape, the very small place in which we did a bit of a video for you guys when we're going to the South Island a couple of weeks ago. Literally there you are on State Highway 1 and you're just driving through the town. There will be some brown sign with the logo of public toilets there. So literally pointing you, even if you're just driving around, you are pointed by car to go to relieve yourself the right place. So it really is not a hard
the
place to
local
find.
Councils and the governments really do want people to use the public bathrooms rather than, the side of the road. So they do make sure it's pretty easy.
Is that an option? Like, sorry guys, I'm going to stop the traffic right here. I'm going to be like, just right there. I'm going to park.
So they make it easy to find bathrooms. Yeah. All right.
All right, so while you guys continue with some more questions, let's move on to the next city on our list, and we're talking about New Zealand's capital city. That's right, Wellington is not the largest city of New Zealand, and Auckland is not the capital of New Zealand. Two big confusions that people often have. Anyway, so Wellington is the capital of New Zealand. It has 442,000 inhabitants, and it is often dubbed as the coolest little capital. And for good reason. It has a really cool city vibe. There's always something happening in Wellington, and it's surrounded by a wine district, by amazing coastline and some stunning mountains. There is heaps of creativity to be found in Wellington, so it's often a popular choice for travelers to extend their stay a little bit and spend a few days to explore the city. So Laura, what are some of your favorite things to do in Wellington?
My favorite thing to do by far is to go to Zealandia.
I thought that would be the Te Papa Museum.
No,
All right, continue.
It's very easy to access from the city centre. They do free shuttles from the eyesight, for example. And this is a huge wildlife sort of sanctuary. They have a predator-proof fence around it. And the wildlife in New Zealand is pretty much birds. So it's sort of like a more sort of free environment for the birds. And it's just really awesome to be able to go around and you see different feeding stations with native birds sort of, doing their thing. And it's an amazing place to go and learn more about the flora and fauna of New Zealand. Another awesome thing to do and must do is the Te Papa Museum.
My favorite.
So this is the largest national museum of New Zealand. So everything to do with New Zealand in terms of Maori culture, volcanic landscapes, the social history, the natural history, all that good stuff is covered at the Te Papa Museum. So it's definitely worth visiting, and it's free to visit. And then finally, if you're looking for a road trip, then going to the Wairarapa region, particularly to the Putangarua Pinnacles and Cape Palliser, is a really cool road trip to see some really cool pinnacle formations, as well as a cool lighthouse where there's often a seal colony there in the correct months. Go check that out too.
And Sherry, before I'm closing this one, shouts Weta Workshop, which is great as well. It's the studio that does a lot of the special effects for movies such as The Lord of the Rings, so it's worth visiting too. All right, so Clay says something quite interesting. He says the back left tire is also a legal toilet, but not recommended. An old law that never changed.
Oh, interesting.
Really? Is that really the truth? It is.
I
really,
feel like I want to look this
Also,
up.
does it have to be the back left tire of your own vehicle, or can it be somebody else's vehicle? And is it applying just to dogs, or is it actually to humans? I'm very confused by this one, Clay. I need some research. I need to contact our team of researchers and get them to dig deep. Clay says, not the Parliament tour. That was great. No, that's horrible.
Yeah.
He says, definitely you own. Oh, Clay, I was looking for your car. I was thinking next time I'm in Dunedin, I'm going to find your car. And I was like, you know what? It's the low, Clay. I'm so sorry. Let me just piss on the tire. It's the back left tire. I sometimes get confused with left and right, so I may get in jail if I get the wrong one. So here you go.
Yeah, you got to be careful. Cherie says, what's your most recommended thing to see in Te Papa? I only have half a day there. Oh, what?
So there is an exhibition that's supposed to be temporary, but it's not temporary, which is called the Scale of a War, which is actually quite striking. It has like really basically gigantic sculpture of soldiers, which are very expressive. It was made by the Weta studio that we're talking about. And it showcases some of New Zealand's involvement in the war. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Another one, if you want to learn more about New Zealand, is actually the Waitangi exhibition, which has a giant version of the Waitangi Treaty. It looks really cool, and it gets you to get a bit of an insight on basically the birth of New Zealand as a nation. And obviously it's a very controversial document. So there is a lot, and you hear a lot about it in New Zealand news. So if you want to understand New Zealand a little bit more, that could be a really cool one to do. So that'd be the two ones that I will recommend if I was you.
Yeah, maybe a couple of most memorable parts of it that you might want to check out. At least it obviously depends on what you're into, but I was going to say that there's the giant, the colossal squid. So that's sort of in the like natural history part of it. Or there's also like an sort of volcano and earthquake section. So, I personally find that interesting because I come from a country that doesn't have all that sort of geographical aspects, so that's why I would find that interesting. So I don't know if you would also find that interesting, Sherry, but they have some cool sort of, they have like an earthquake simulation and lots of information about the volcanoes as well. So I know that's always like a sort of bit of a fascination for some people, so you can go maybe check that out too.
She said, I would love to see that. Is the War Memorial worth seeing in Auckland as well? I really liked visiting the one here. Yeah, it's a really cool museum, but there is like skeletons of T-Rexes at the moment there. So yeah, that's kind of fun to see. I haven't seen one, so I'd like to go see it.
We saw it when it was a solo T-Rex.
Yes, we haven't seen these.
The pair of T-Rexes.
Barbara showed up, so... She says, that sounds good to me, Laura. We don't have that here either. Oh, well, here you go.
Yeah.
Sorted, Sherry. Absolutely sorted. All right, so while you guys continue with questions, let's move on to the next city. Next on our list, we have Christchurch at 389,300 people at time of recording. That may change. Somebody may actually just pop a baby by the time you're seeing this video. Anyway, this is the third largest city in New Zealand, and Christchurch is the South Island's largest cities. It is a very good city if you are looking for employment in New Zealand. It's teeming with work opportunities. So if you are visiting New Zealand on a working holiday visa, for example, it is a fantastic place to base yourself on. It also has amazing artwork, fantastic murals everywhere around the city, and it has fantastic view of the Port Hills. If you are into surfing, there is also some many enticing surfing spot around the city, and it is a great spot for South Island getaways. Laura, what are your favorite things to do in Christchurch?
I think the number one thing to do in Christchurch is to definitely check out the Botanic Gardens there. There's lots to see. There's lots of different themes to the gardens, and even if you go there once, there's probably going to be something that you've missed, so it's always worth returning. There's always something to see at the Botanic Gardens, and it's a free thing to do, so definitely worth doing. And right next door is the Canterbury Museum. Actually, at the time of recording, it is closed for redevelopment, but it is supposed to reopen. So
It reopens soon.
yeah. And then another cool thing to do is actually taking a walk along the Avon River. So there's really like a lot of different sightseeing stuff you can do along there.
You can see a punter.
You can see people punting on the Avon River. You can also see there's various different memorials. There's like a really cool memorial that's actually the earthquake memorial, but it's like just a really cool sort of architectural steps going towards the Avon River. There's also the Kate Shepherd Memorial, the Bridge of Remembrance. So there's really some sort of like grand architecture and sculpture to see as you're going down the Avon River. So that's definitely worth doing as well. And then Christchurch actually has some really cool day trips to do from the city. One of the best ones to do, in our opinion, would be to go to Akaroa. Over there, they have amazing cruises.
Is that my opinion too?
Oh, it definitely is.
I
You
know
talk
it
about it
is.
all the time. So, yeah, they have wildlife cruises where you can see the world's smallest dolphins and the world's smallest penguins. The town itself is French-inspired, so there's a lot of French-themed things to do there.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting town to go check out, and that definitely makes a good day, or at least maybe 2-day road trip from Christchurch. So that's another cool thing to do there too.
All right. Where are we on?
Sherry says, isn't there a memorial with chairs in Christchurch? Well, actually, not anymore. There used to be an earthquake memorial with all these white chairs in Christchurch, but that has been basically removed, and the guy that made it was just like, does anybody want to take a chair home? It's basically, that's how that happened.
Respectfully removed.
Yeah.
That's what has happened. Yeah. But there's still some remnants from that earthquake. There is the museum there that talks about the earthquake.
Quake City.
Yeah, Quake City.
Yeah.
But there is also, the fact that the cathedral, despite the fact the earthquake is
About 13 years old.
more than a decade old, it's still not finished, right? So you can still see a couple of those kind of things, but most of it has been completely rebuilt. And I was actually quite surprised how good it was. Like when we went back to Christchurch a couple of weeks ago, how easy it was to navigate through the city and everything. It's actually easier to navigate through Christchurch than it is through Auckland and Wellington. And everything.
Yeah.
Wellington is
So I think like my takeaway for what Christchurch is at the moment is more, it's like its heritage buildings are still being rebuilt because, they're slowly, they're trying to also preserve the heritage of some of those buildings. So, it's a slow process. But in terms of like, the rebuild of all the, the modern buildings, the streets, that sort of thing, like everything is looking, pretty good now in Christchurch. So it's a really, like Robin says, easy to navigate around.
Yeah.
And
I love Christchurch. I
Christchurch
really
is
do.
looking great.
In fact, I do like Christchurch so much that our segment today is Photo Story. So looking at Laura taking photos right here is a bit of a lie, because today the photo is literally a selfie I just took on my phone. So if you follow us on Patreon, you may have seen it before, but I really do love the fact that Christchurch has so many murals everywhere. It just makes the city look really fantastic. So yeah, I wanted to show that a little bit, just to show you that Christchurch is still it's actually a really vibrant city. Everybody find Christchurch being like so boring, but no, Christchurch is actually really cool. So even a small empty plot of land in between two buildings in the city center has been kind of arranged with a bit of fake grass. There is a coffee cart just behind me right here that I'm taking, actually in front of it, basically where my phone is pointing. The side you don't see. There is a nice little coffee cart over there that had a queue on there actually, so it must be a really good one. I didn't have time to actually shop for coffees because I was running around the city because somebody forgot to pack me a shirt and I was about to go bare-chested in my suit, and that was not necessarily the best thing to do. Therefore I was running around trying to buy a shirt. last minute. Anyway, aside from that,
Is this a photo story or a photo rant?
well, this is why I usually pack the bags. For once, she was in charge of packing the bag. God damn it!
I wanted you to look like a Chippendales stripper.
Da-da-da-da-da. I should have done just bare chest with the
Just
tie.
the tie and the pants, and that's it.
Anyway, so Christchurch City is very vibrant. It's really cool. It does look super bright. It's really fun city to kind of even just spend some time within the city center. And one of the great things is that you're seeing me right here walking around. Christchurch City has been, I feel, rebuilt with pedestrians in mind. And the city center is not clogged with cars, with having to cross the streets, all the time and waiting for crossing and everything, like it is happening in Auckland quite a lot. And in Wellington to a certain extent, but a bit less than Auckland. But Auckland, you really feel like you are disturbing cars when you kind of walk and gander around the city. But in Christchurch, that's not the case. In Christchurch, you genuinely are able to kind of just walk around and actually just enjoy the city and not being too disturbed by cars. And I really enjoyed that. Like kind of like gallivanting around the city is not often something that you get to do in New Zealand. I feel like it's quite often just basically one main street in the middle, and then you kind of sometimes have to cross and everything. You don't really have a city experience, and it's something that you get a lot in Europe, especially at the moment, which are really pushing cars away from the city centers. So Christchurch did a really great job with very easy to find and easy to use parkings. Really not too expensive, and a lot of the parkings actually are, you get 4 hours for free, and it's pretty good. Like it's not the case in Auckland or in Wellington. So I really, really did like Christchurch City, and especially the city centre. I know it's maybe a hot take or a controversial opinion, but Christchurch, in my opinion,
It's back, baby!
it's back, baby. You rock, Christchurch. I love you. There you go.
Okay.
Clay is shocked.
Yeah, he says, really? That's a statement I've never heard from someone outside Christchurch.
Well, listen, I do like my fair share of hot takes, but no, genuinely, I really did enjoy Christchurch. I was very surprised, and you guys saw on Facebook on the Patreon Facebook group, I did post a story of like me going to go get that shirt, and I was posting some photos, and I really was enjoying. Like despite the fact I was rushing, I had 20 minutes to find a white shirt that fits me, like to iron it, to to get ready for the stands. It was like really a rush. I was still taking the time, like taking some photos, photos of the trams, all of that. I really did enjoy kind of rushing through Christchurch. I really did.
Yeah, he says it's the easy to navigate part that he means, but other than that, it's great.
Yeah. Easy to navigate. I really did not have a problem. We were looking for the parking. We got it straight away. We stayed in.
We stayed on Cathedral Square, which is as central as you can get for Christchurch, and
parking is right here on Cathedral Square.
We just drove there.
Yeah,
and it was like, wow, that was easy, and it wasn't even that too much traffic or anything really. It's like the traffic was kind of like the traffic light systems and stuff all feel like it works. It's not too hectic.
I mean, we're talking about cities like Wellington and Auckland. They are horrible to kind of travel by car through. Like it's daunting to me every time. Like every time we have to go to Auckland to take a flight or something, we're always like, okay, how can we shorten our stay in Auckland? Can we literally just arrive at the airport and then just fly off?
Yeah.
And now we feel like, okay, we need to spend some time in Auckland because we always try to avoid it. So we're planning to spend some time in Auckland, but it's kind of like it feels daunting, right? Christchurch doesn't do that to you. At least that's my personal opinion. That's my personal experience. You may find it very hard to navigate because maybe it's not complicated enough for you in Dunedin. There's no octagon. There's no 8 choices. Every time it's just, A or B. I know you do like to have 8 choices when you arrive in an intersection. I really enjoy going left or right only, Clay. So maybe that's just me, I'm not octagon ready. That's it. Dunedin is not that bad, to be quite fair.
In fact, we will be talking about it more on this list. But Dunedin's. But I guess it has some narrower streets. Yeah, I guess is the issue. But
I just love Christchurch.
Yeah,
just trying to put it out there.
Yeah, I love Dunedin, to be fair.
Yeah.
If I could choose between the two, I think I have.
Okay, if I had to choose which one I would live in, I think I would live in Dunedin. Yeah. Because we're more into like getting outside and those kind of things like wildlife and all that. So I will choose Dunedin. Yeah. Well, good thing Claire has a bean bag for us in his garden. He said so. There you go.
Yay.
Anyway, it's a, yeah, that's fair play then. I just find with being flat, it gives you no sense of direction. Well, I just find out with being hilly, you just don't know where, you don't see where you're going, right? So I feel like when it's flat, you can always kind of see where you're going. But I guess it's kind of like, it also feels like what you used to as well, right? If you used to orientate yourself as like the big hill is left to the small hill and all that, well, there you get completely lost for sure. Yeah.
I use my satellite navigation system to direct me. And
Laura is addicted to maps.me. She doesn't look left or right. I tend to kind of like turn, I'm like, but we're going that direction, so I turn that way. She's like, well, I told you to go there. Usually we get to the right place.
And
though.
signage is pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Like in pretty much all New Zealand cities, like signs do tell you where to go. So it's just like, because sometimes it's hard to rely on your GPS actually. When you get to those roads that are all close together and you're not really sure on the GPS which one it wants you to go, at least like look at the signs.
And two of them are closed with orange cones because New Zealand one day got a discount on the worldwide orange cones market and decided to go nuts and buy all of them. So yeah, half of them are probably going to be closed anyway for repair or pothole fixings. So yeah. Here you go. Okay, let's move on to the next city on our list, and a fourth on the list of the biggest cities in New Zealand is Hamilton with 179,900 people. 1,079,900. Yeah, something like that.
1,079. No.
179,900. There you go.
Why was that so hard to say?
I have no idea. Anyway, situated on the banks of the mighty Waikato River, Hamilton is the center or the epicenter of the life in the Waikato region. The Hamilton Gardens is usually a big draw card, as well as the nightlife of the city, as it has quite a big student hub in there. It is a great hub to visit some places such as Raglan and the Hobbiton and Waitomo area. And if you're planning on studying in New Zealand, Hamilton is probably on top of your list. Laura, what are your favorite things to do in Hamilton?
Okay, there's an obvious one here, and I think everybody should do it, and that is the Hamilton Gardens. So these are, they get a lot of hype, but deservedly so. The Hamilton Gardens, there's lots of different themed gardens, and they're all really immaculate, really creative. It's just awesome. So yeah, and it's free to visit as well. So we always like free things to do in the cities. So
we do.
So Hamilton Gardens, absolutely #1 thing to do. Make sure you don't miss that. Another thing to do is, the Waikato River is a sort of like a big, really important part of Hamilton. And what they do really well in Hamilton is that they have lots of really cool bike trails alongside the river. So, hiring a bike, they have really cool, well-graded trails that you can do in many different points. So you can do a bit of research and see if you want to just do an easy cycle from the city, or if you want to go somewhere where there's a little bit more wilderness. There's lots of options there. And then finally, a pretty obvious city thing to do, but I'm going to say it everywhere anyway, is to go to the Waikato Museum. It's a really cool museum where there's a lot of emphasis on some Maori artifacts and the Maori history there. So that's usually a really interesting aspect for people that are, especially international travelers that want to learn more about the indigenous culture of New Zealand. Then the Waikato Museum is a really cool place to go check that out.
There you go. Hamilton is awesome. Yeah. Okay, Clay is also giving us a bit of an update on the bushwalk that he had in lieu of a garden,
right?
In his Dunedin home, and he finally has raised veggie beds and all those kind of things. So that's pretty awesome. We're doing the fence where we are, so we are hoping that we're gonna have a lot of spare kind of woods to be able to make more of the raised garden.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw one time on Patreon I did share a little bit of raised garden and all that, but we hope to be able to do a bit of that.
Yeah, we're a fan of veggie gardens. It has to be said. We do enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. All right, fantastic username coming up.
Racist grandpa's here. Greetings from Saudi Arabia. Greetings, racist grandpa. Everybody has one.
All right. I do like me a good username, I have to be honest. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's continue talking about some of the biggest cities of New Zealand. And number 5 on our list, we have Tauranga. Tauranga is home to 158,300 people. And it is a great coastal city located on the northern end of New Zealand. And it is often a hub for people wanting to work in the horticultural industry. So doing fruit picking, like, anything to do with stone fruits or with kiwi fruits. It is also a fantastic hub to explore some of the northern kind of part of the northern end of New Zealand. A great hub to go to the Coromandel to explore, well, all of the Bay of Plenty, all of that the Bay of Plenty has to offer, and even going all the way to the East Cape. It is a great place to live, and it's also another city with a lot of great murals. Laura, what are your favorite things to do in Tauranga?
Okay, my favorite thing to do is certainly to go for a walk up the mount, which is located at the very end of Mount Maunganui Beach. And from there, you can get some really cool views of Tauranga and Mount Maunganui. So that's a really cool thing to do. And something nearby that's quite underrated is Leisure Island. So this is a small island that you can actually access straight off the beach. Just after you've done your walk up the mount, you come back down, walk along the beach for a little bit, and there's a small island that you can just access straight away. And from there, you can get some more excellent views of the more of the mount itself and the beach. So it's a different perspective. Finally, another really cool thing to do in the area would be to go to the Mamako Forest Park.
Sorry about the pronunciation, guys.
So over there they have some really cool like short bushwalks that you can do. There's a really small one to a waterfall, but then you can also get yourself up high into the hills to get some awesome views from there as well. So if you're more into outdoorsy things, there's certainly scope for that from Tauranga.
All right, Clay is asking, Granddad, is that you? We all have one. We all have one. Just don't invite them for Christmas. That's just what you need to do. All right. So while you guys are coming up with some more questions about traveling in New Zealand, we'll keep going down that list of awesome cities to visit in New Zealand. And again, they are ranked in order of population. So number 6, we have Napier and Hastings. Yes, combined together, and they are home to 148,000 people. So Napier and Hastings are surrounded by vineyards and very close to awesome beaches, bike rides and walks. So they are super popular cities for traveler looking for wines and also epic adventures. And if you're looking for tasting delicious food, it is also a fantastic place to visit. But this is more the realm and domain of Laura. What are your favorite things to do in Napier and Hastings, Laura?
Okay, first thing I would say is the wine region there is really, really like a big popular thing to do. So the wine region's mainly between Napier and Hastings. So there's a lot of driving tours as well as self-guided cycling tours that you can do between the vineyards, and they're very well connected by cycle trails. So doing a day of that, going to different wineries, tasting different wines at cellar doors, etc., is definitely a highlight of Napier and Hastings. Another really cool thing to do is to do a bit of a road trip to Cape Kidnappers. There's a couple of ways to enjoy Cape Kidnappers. The easiest way would be to take a tour with overland safaris, which do a driving tour to see the Cape Kidnappers gannet colony, and that's the easiest way to approach it, because otherwise you have to do about a 5-hour hike at low tide along the beaches to go to Cape Kidnappers. So that's certainly not for everyone. So, but that's a free way to go and check out the beautiful gannet colony there at Cape Kidnappers. And let's think of another one to do quickly.
The Art Deco tour?
The Art Deco tours.
Course.
Yes. So Napier is famous for its Art Deco architecture. It was rebuilt in that style after it had a devastating earthquake quite a few years ago, many years ago, in fact. So it was rebuilt in this very vibrant way, and now you can do Art Deco tours with the Art Deco Trust, which do walking tours around the city. That's probably the easiest and cheapest one to do, but there's also driving Art Deco tours that you can choose from as well. And yeah, they'll tell you about the different history of the different things that you're seeing, about the history of the earthquake, and also, yeah, just sort of pointing out the significance or things about the architecture you might have not figured out on your own.
Selena is here saying, I'm Selena from Egypt. Hello.
Hello, Selena.
How are you doing in Egypt? How's the pyramids going?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I know about Egypt. But yeah, and Clay is giving you a bit of data right here. It's
Thank you,
1931, please.
Yes, 1931 was the earthquakes of the Napier.
You saw us struggling with numbers, which are written on screens right here. So, don't expect us to remember numbers. Numbers are hard.
Yes.
Numbers are the tough ones. Okay. So, yeah, Selena, if you do have any questions about traveling in New Zealand, feel free to ask. Zahir is here as well. Great session saying, nice to see you both.
Ooh.
Nice to see you, Zahir.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Yes, I hope that your kids are doing all right. They may have been the ones showing you the video and be like, oh, look, they're live. But yeah, if you have any questions about traveling in New Zealand, Zahir, I know you end up coming to New Zealand way too often. Feel free to ask.
Yes.
Zahir is a friend of ours, by the way. This is why we are being a bit more casual with him. Okay, so should we move on to the next city on our list? So continuing with the biggest cities of New Zealand, the next one is Dunedin with 130,400 people. Again, somebody may have had a baby by the time you're watching this video, so don't hold that number against us. Anyway, Dunedin is a student city and has a lot to do in terms of wildlife spotting. So there is the beautiful Otago Peninsula. It also has the world's steepest street, the Otago Central Rail Trail. But most importantly, the city has a bit of a European style kind of vibe. It is Scottish, if I'm correct.
Yes,
is that correct? So
Scottish,
it has a Scottish heritage. So a lot of the architecture is Scottish inspired. So it's a pretty cool city to spend time on. Laura, what are your 3 favorite things to do in Dunedin?
Okay, definitely checking out the Otago Peninsula, which is a very easy short drive or a nice wildlife tour drive. Get one of the tours to take you there. And often we say it's a good idea to take a tour to the Otago Peninsula because certain tours have access to private conservation land where you can see amazing things like yellow-eyed penguins, New Zealand sea lions, fur seals, albatross. Oh, there's so many amazing things to see on the Otago Peninsula. So there's different ways to either do it self-guided or on a guided tour, but either way, check it out. Make sure you spend a bit of time on the Otago Peninsula, and they have a big castle there as well. Cool. Another thing, it's kind of hard to decide which museum is better. So there's 2 really awesome museums in Dunedin. There's the Otago Museum and the Toitu Settlers Museum. Both are free, both are really amazing. If you have the time, definitely check out both of them.
If you have to only check one, pick the Toitu. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. So yeah, they're 2 really awesome museums to check out. And then finally, I would say Dunedin's a good opportunity to do one of the brewery tours of New Zealand. So New Zealand's really into its beer, and Speight's is one of the biggest beer brands in New Zealand. So if you want to check out their Speight's brewery tour, along with some tastings and that sort of thing, then...
Do you really taste Speight's, or you just skirl Speight's?
I'm sure some people have tasted something at some point. So yeah, that's a really cool thing to do. Really accessible from the city centre. So that's definitely a city activity that's quite unique to Dunedin.
All right, so we have Kiwi Lauren saying, one of my students asked me on Friday, doesn't New Zealand have the steepest street in the world? Yes, Baldwin Street. And she says she wanted to take a video of herself struggling to walk up it. You won't really struggle walking, but if you start running, if you decide to actually kind of run all the way and not stop, oh my gosh, you'll be so red on top. Oh, that's going to be absolutely wow. Rafa Cat says, good morning for all the way from beautiful and sunny
Leeds.
And Selena says, I'm coming soon. What is the city with the best schools for kids? So it's going to be hard for us to answer that as we don't have kids ourselves and we don't have much experience with the New Zealand education system. However, we do have quite a few friends that have recently immigrated to New Zealand and that have kids. Some of them have found really great schools in Wellington and they were very happy with it. However, the cost of life in Wellington is quite high. We have had some negative feedback from the school system in Auckland, actually, from some other of our friends, so I wouldn't be able to recommend you Auckland. However, we have heard some really good things about Christchurch that was, raving about just before, so maybe Christchurch could be a really good compromise for you and be a great place for you to settle in. Maybe we can also ask, I need to get back to school myself. We can also ask Clay, which has a tribe of his own, and he's living in Dunedin. How is the school system over there? Would you recommend Selena to come and join you in Dunedin?
Speaking of Clay,
yes.
He says that if you head up Mount Cargill for the best views of the city, and Peninsula Tours don't head up there, I don't think.
No, I don't think they do that.
No,
so,
they do stop along sort of the main road into the Otago Peninsula, where you get a little bit of height just before reaching Lanark Castle, and they do you get a bit of a view from that perspective. But yeah, there's if you want to actually do a self-guided thing, then yeah, Mount Cargill would definitely be a better option.
And Clay also adds that there's a lot of art and i.e. murals, like on the selfie I was showing before from Christchurch. So yeah, a lot of cities are kind of going with that as well. Like Tauranga has amazing art as well, and all that. But
and New Plymouth as well.
New Plymouth has really good ones. So yeah, apparently Dunedin has some really good ones as well. I don't think I've ever noticed in Dunedin
Yeah, I don't think it was as big,
hidden,
but now they're doing guided street art walking tours in Dunedin, so I feel like that's always a thing.
There should be enough to make a guided tour.
That's always a thing that's ever changing in any of the cities in New Zealand, and even in Christchurch still there's new murals popping up all the time, so yeah, there's always something different to see even if you've visited that city before.
And so the cities in New Zealand are getting more and more colourful, which I really enjoy. I really enjoy that. Okay, Azewara says, "Good morning, guys. The steepest street in the world is here in Dunedin. I have visited there twice. It's an awesome experience." Ooh,
nice.
Local of Baldwin Street. Are you living on Baldwin Street, Azewara? No.
I do remember there was actually a mural at the top of Baldwin Street. There's like a bench, and then behind it is the mural. So yeah, now I'm starting to realise there are some artwork.
Kimi Lorenz says, "I had to disappear for a few minutes. Judging by where you are geographically, I assume I missed Christchurch. Is there somewhere to drop bags at the Antarctic Centre if we wanted to visit before a flight?" Is there a check? I wouldn't think they don't have one. I mean, they have such a massive entrance.
It's it's a really big, I feel like they have a lot of facilities there, obviously.
So I have not noticed that specific facility, but if I was to kind of just picture the entrance and all, their massive reception, all that, I would say there must be one. There must be a check in your luggage.
And considering they're located pretty close to the airport, I don't see why not. But this is definitely something to maybe just look up on their website, perhaps.
And so Clay, which Selena, for some context, Clay is actually a Patreon supporter of us, so he's been with us for a very, very long time, and he is the local of Dunedin. There is actually a video of him on the channel. If you just type NZ Pocket Guide and Clay, you will see him talking about things to do with kids in Dunedin. And so he's talking about the Dunedin school system for you. And he says that obviously he cannot really compare, he can only speak for Dunedin, and he say all schools here are great, some are better than others, but there are not any with bad rap. So a lot of places have one or two schools which has a pretty bad reputation. But he says that in Dunedin he cannot think of one that will have a bad reputation, so therefore the school system will be quite good. So here you go for you, Selena. What about Dunedin? It's a really fun city. I do like Dunedin. So yeah, can we send you and your family to Dunedin by just asking a question to two talking heads on the internet? That's a bit of a risky move. Should you do it? Should you not? You decide.
I would definitely do a little bit of traveling around New Zealand yourself.
Definitely. And some research of your own as well, you know. Yeah. But yeah, this is kind of the poll of the morning, where should Selena
send her kids.
Send her kids. Okay, so let's continue with our coverage of the biggest cities of New Zealand, and we are down to number 9 with the town of Whangarei, which is cracking it at the 100,000 people, 100,500 people. It is the northernmost city on the list that we're going to be covering today, and it has a subtropical climate, and it also has a really good location because it's relatively close to Auckland with all the Auckland facilities that you have. So it's kind of a prime choice for picking where to stay, right? If you want to have a decent climate, have all the conveniences of Auckland without having the inconveniences of Auckland, and have stunning attractions such as the Whangarei Falls and the Whangarei Heads that Laura is probably going to mention well right now. Laura, what are your favorite things to do in Whangarei?
Whangarei Falls. Yeah, so a really cool waterfall that is probably the easiest waterfall to access in New Zealand. There's a car park, you walk for 2 seconds, and then you're on top of Whangarei Falls, which is pretty huge. I think it's about 30 meters. It's really quite a large waterfall. And then you can do there's a walk down to different viewpoints, so you can experience it from different angles, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that's Whangarei Falls. Another really cool thing to do would be to go to Whangarei Heads. Specifically, the Mount Manaia walk is really, really awesome. It takes you, up through the forest, through a kauri forest, which are some of the largest trees in New Zealand. Takes you up to a really magnificent viewpoint of the surrounding coastal areas and lots of sort of mountains as well. So that's a really cool one to get outdoors and experience a bit of nature. And then finally, speaking of nature, there's 2 really cool sort of wildlife attractions in Whangarei. They're located literally side by side to each other. It's Kiwi North and the Whangarei Whangarei Rescue Centre for Birds. Something like that. It has a very long, complicated name that's not great for marketing, but it's right next door to Kiwi North. So Kiwi North is like
It's so true.
Yeah. It's Kiwi North is like its main attraction there is that it has like a nocturnal kiwi house, so you can see like they've made the conditions so that it's nighttime for the kiwi birds during the daytime, so you can see.
So you can get in. It's a very dark room, but your eyes adjust and you get to see the kiwi birds.
So you can see
behaving.
kiwi birds there. They also have some pretty creepy things there as well. They have like geckos, insects. Which is pretty cool to look at, and tuatara as well. But then next door they have basically it's a bird like wildlife hospital, so they have various aviaries for the birds as they are in rehabilitation, and then they're released into the wild afterwards. But it is just an opportunity to see different native birds up close, and some of them are pretty happy to be there. Even ones that they've released keep coming back, and they have a talking tui. Don't know if they still have a talking tui, but they did have a talking tui that literally repeats what people say and things. So yeah, it's fun. It's a bit wacky, it's a bit crazy, but that's another cool thing to do in Whangarei.
All right, so Selena says, actually, I'm going to Otago, Dunedin. So here you go, we've decided that for her. So Clay and Azewara, you are both from Dunedin, if I remember where Azewara is from. I think that's correct. So Clay and Azewara, you are about to welcome a new neighbor in the form of Selena. So here you go, happy days. Nice. Good. A new Dunediner. How do you call somebody living in Dunedin?
I feel like I've heard the term before, but I can't remember what it is.
It's like a dunner, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure Clay can tell us.
What is the name of a person living in Dunedin?
A dunner stunner. Another dunner stunner.
Selena.
Dunedinite.
Really? Is that
sounds cool?
No, that doesn't sound as good.
Sounds like a rock.
Yeah.
It's like, I've discovered.
We are tough. We are Dunedinite.
From Dunners. Dunedinite from Dunners.
Here you go.
So yeah, Selena is now.
You already got your
a
early slang, so yeah, you know, Dunedinite. Here we go, Selena. Happy days. Okay, are we squeezing in a number 10, or are we just skipping it and be like, okay, we don't have time?
Let's round it off with a nice number 10.
All right, so number 10 on our list, we have Palmerston North, 90,400 people. It is very often overlooked by travelers, which are driving right through on the way between Tongariro National Park and Wellington, but it's a fantastic hub to explore the beautiful Manawatu region and the Manawatu Gorge. It's actually extremely affordable as well to visit, and a great place to settle a little bit if you want to work and play as a backpacker. Laura, what are your 3 favorite things to do in Palmerston North? And we're running out of time, so don't expand too long.
Okay, first up, go to Wild Based Recovery Centre, another one of these rehabilitation centres for native birds, which is located right in the city centre near Victoria Park. Another cool place is the National Rugby Museum right next door to Te Manawa Museum, 2 museums in one. Rugby museum you have to pay, but the Te Manawa Museum is free, and everybody loves a good museum, and Palmerston North has its own. And then finally go to the square in the middle of Palmerston North. It's a cool park, it's funky, it's you know, contemporary, it's got a big clock. Get some photos.
Here you go. Wrapping it up. Okay, so that was the 10 biggest cities in New Zealand. There are actually much more awesome cities to visit, and you can check them out with a bit of an introduction that we just did right here on the link in the description below, where we have about 15, 16 of them. And we even included Queenstown, which is definitely not a city, but yeah, we just know that everybody wants to hear about Queenstown. So yeah, check out the link in the description below, and yeah, let's go back to the live show.
Let's.
Okay, Adil is saying, are there any places or activities that were mentioned by Laura in this show that are wheelchair accessible? Pretty much all the museums.
For sure. They're all sort of, the standard in New Zealand is to make museums accessible for wheelchairs. Even just if you've got someone with you to help push you, Waikato River trails, that sort of thing. Like from the city centre, the trails
it's relatively flat,
really flat, really smooth, really wide. So as long as you've got someone helping you, I would say, because there may be a bit of gradient there, that is a really good one to do.
So as Clay says, for your information, Adil, so with the exception of obviously bushwalks and those kind of things, he's pretty sure that it's the New Zealand building code that there has to be accessibility, certainly in new builds. So yes, that he's correct with that. So for pretty much all public buildings, and such as like the city museum and everything, they actually do have to make it accessible, and they do have to retrofit even older buildings. Although it's done to a certain extent, sometimes not as good as it could be and everything like that. But for all new builds, yes, it has to be accessible. There are such a thing as accessibility laws in New Zealand. So when it's a newer build, like something like the Te Papa Museum and all that, they will have elevators, they will have ramp, they will have all those kind of things at the ready for you. But obviously, a bushwalk or climbing Whangarei Heads, which is set of stairs after other set of stairs after other set of stairs, and at that point, that's sadly not accessible. So yeah, but the majority of things that we did mention was accessible. And Clay is talking about the Dunedin night. He says, if you don't like that term, do some study and you can be called a scarfie. Yeah, I can see that. I did have a fair amount of scarves when I was a student. So yeah,
okay.
French student has a scarf. You need to be able to kind of fend off the tear gas from the cops when you rebel. I know that's what we're doing. All right. On that note, everybody, we're wrapping up this live show, and we're going to get started with our Patreon live show. So if you are not on Patreon, join us there. There is a link in the description below. It's cheap as chips, and you get all our support. You get access to a secret Facebook group where you can chat with us 7 days a week, and we can help you with your itinerary, planning your trip to New Zealand. Plus, on top of that, you even have an extra 1 hour of those live show where we are, just off the record, right? So it's a little bit more, casual, and there is a bit more candid conversations happening. And if you are not on Patreon, it's absolutely fine. We see you with plenty of awesome videos throughout the week. And next week, we have a very special live show where we are going to be doing a whole live show dedicated to the Blue Bridge Ferry. We are going to be watching, real-time videos for the whole time. So we won't be here with our big faces, we'll be small up there, and you'll get to see us taking the ferry, boarding it, exploring all the
We will be taking the ferry together.
Yes, we'll be taking the ferry together for the whole time. It's going to be really fun. We worked really hard on filming that and having all the videos at the ready for you. So we'll have a whole hour of watching what happens when you take the Blue Bridge Ferry from beginning to end. So don't miss that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And we jumped the gun there because Adil was saying, what's the theme for next week? And then you just said that and he's retracted his message.
Ooh,
so yeah,
ba-bam.
we got in there quick, Adil.
Yes. Ramez says, what is the coolest city in New Zealand? It is midsummer and 39 degrees Celsius here. The coolest city, coldest city in Dunedin, in New Zealand so far that we've mentioned, that would be Dunedin. If you want even colder, you can head to Invercargill. And Claire is panging for the Lynx Ferry. Oh, mate, you just showed your age right here. And Kiwi Lauren says, see you in a live chat next week when my countdown will be under a month. Indeed, Kiwi Lauren, indeed. But join the Patreon show. It'll be fun. All right, everybody. See you on the Patreon show in about 5 minutes. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye.